Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Natvar Radha Natvar Shri Radhe. Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Mai. Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Patita Pavan Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Radha Natvar ki, Gauranitai ki. Thank you everyone. So today we are going to see the look into what Bhagavad Gita is. How many of you are here for the first time? Okay. And then, so before we do anything, we'll just offer our prayers to Srila Prabhupada, because this book, Bhagavad Gita over here, is translated by him. And then we are going to look into his some of the verses and some of his commentaries. So we'll offer some prayers to him, and I wrote it over here because I wanted all of you to offer these prayers with me to him. So is that okay? You can read from there. It's in English here. So first we would just read the English one, and then it's right over here, Nama Om. It starts from here, and then we would also see what it means so that we can feel what we are actually singing in Sanskrit. So let's do it together. What do you say? Hari Bol. Okay, great. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine. So it means, I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna having taken shelter at his lotus feet. And then second verse means, our respectful obeisances are unto you, O spiritual master, servant of Saraswati Goswami. Saraswati Goswami is his spiritual master. You are kindly preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Dev and delivering the Western countries which are filled with impersonalism and voidism. So this is it means. So we just prayed to him, and then today the topic is understanding the importance of Srimad Bhagavad Gita before Gita Jayanti. So Jayanti is on 3rd December, and this is Bhagavad Gita. So we will try to see what is the importance of this Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And this book is presentation is based on the teachings of Srila Prabhupada, which is by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He is a founder Acharya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness, which is ISKCON. And Prabhupada says in one of the verses in Srimad Bhagavatam, if we read Bhagavad Gita in the spirit of understanding like Arjuna, the perfect disciple, and if we accept the advice and instruction of Krishna, the perfect teacher, then we should know that we have understood Bhagavad Gita. So that means Krishna is first of all a perfect teacher because he is the supreme personality of Godhead. We will see what it is. And then Arjuna is a perfect disciple. So we would also try to see what is a perfect disciple. Like how should we try to read Bhagavad Gita? How many of you read Bhagavad Gita every day? Every day? Okay. Do you have Bhagavad Gita with you? Do you have Bhagavad Gita? This book, do you have any similar to this book with you? Okay. So some of them are new faces as well. So we would try to cover that as well. So now before starting Bhagavad Gita, in the first introduction, it starts with Mangala Charana prayers. So that is over here, Mangala Charan prayers. So whenever we read Bhagavad Gita, we should always start with Mangala Charan prayers. Okay. So even here, I have actually written it in English, and then we would see whom we are offering our obeisances to, like why we are asking for their blessing, so that we can understand Bhagavad Gita, because understanding this Bhagavad Gita is not very easy. It is easy as well as not very easy. It is both at the same time, because if the way we are understanding is right, then we would be able to understand it easily. But if we are not understanding in a right spirit, then we won't be able to understand it, even if we are reading it like 1,000 times or so. So let's do this as well together. Okay? Okay. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamarupaha Kadamayam Dadati Swaha Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamisha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamisha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanshakalpa Tarubhishya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So these are the prayers given in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita. So whenever we read Bhagavad Gita, we should start with these prayers, because reading Bhagavad Gita doesn't merely mean getting knowledge. It means generating devotion inside our heart. The meaning of reading Bhagavad Gita is getting some devotion for Supreme Lord. So first we are starting here with my spiritual master. So who is all our spiritual master? It is Srila Prabhupada. If you are not initiated, if you are not having accepted by some like formally by any spiritual master yet, so that means our spiritual master is Srila Prabhupada, because we are following his orders. We are following his, like he said we should chant Hare Krishna, so we just chanted Hare Krishna. So we are praying our first verse that we read means that we prayed our obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, and then we prayed our obeisances to Srila Rupa Goswami. So who is Rupa Goswami? So you on the altar over there, you see there are 6 Goswamis on the rightmost side. There are 6 Goswamis. So out of them, one is Rupa Goswamis, and all of us, what are we called? Rupanugas, because Krishna, it is said in one of the books that Krishna consciousness movement is actually under Rupa Goswami. He is actually the head of our Krishna consciousness movement, and then he is headed by other Goswamis as well. So in the second verse, we are actually praying to all the Vaishnavas and all the other Goswamis, and then we are praying to Panchatattva and associates. So the Panchatattva is over here, there on the left of the altar. And then we are praying to Srimati Radharani, Sri Krishna, Sri Lalita, Sakhi, and Sri Vishakha. All these are the friends of Krishna, and Radharani is also one of the friends of Krishna. And then we are praying to Lord Krishna. Who is Lord Krishna? He is the friend of the distressed, and he is the source of the creation. He is the master of the gopis and the lover of Radharani. So he is the friend of the distressed. Now you might think, I am not distressed, but we will see if we are distressed or not in real, or is it just illusion according to Bhagavad Gita. Then we are praying to Srimati Radharani, who is just next to Krishna. And then we want to pray to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, like you all are the devotees. So therefore, we all are praying to ourselves so that we can actually read this Bhagavad Gita and discuss it together in a positive way, in a devotional spirit. And then we are again praying to Panchatattva. So praying to Panchatattva came 2 times, as well as Krishna and Radharani came 2 times here. And then we are praying to Mahamantra. So rest all the devotees of the Lord, we are praying through Mahamantra, because Mahamantra comprises of all the things, all the prayers, wherever you are actually doing the prayers, it comprises inside the Mahamantra, because it's called Mahamantra. So that is called Mangalacharan. You might hear this Mangalacharan before anyone gives the lecture. So it's best to learn these. If you can't learn it, so it's at least best to at least have these kinds of obeisances, like these kinds of blessing mood inside our heart, so that we can go into the Bhagavad Gita now. Is that okay? Okay. So when did it all started? When did Bhagavad Gita came into existence? This question might be raised in any of one of your questions in your mind. So actually, the Bhagavad Gita, the original father of Bhagavad Gita is Krishna himself. So here you can see original father of this movement is Lord Krishna himself, and message is coming down in disciplic succession. So in eastern part of the world, there are 4 different ways you can actually learn about Bhagavad Gita. So one of them is Brahma Sampradaya. It is called as Brahma Sampradaya. Another one is called as Sri Sampradaya. Another one is called as Rudra Sampradaya, and another one is called as Kumara Sampradaya. So there are 4 Kumaras who actually who got the teachings from Bhagavad Gita, and they are actually spreading it. And then there is another Acharya or another teacher who is actually spreading the message of Lord Sri Krishna. Okay, and then there is Rudra Sampradaya. So there are devotees of Lord Shiva who is actually spreading the glories of Krishna as well. And there is Sri Sampradaya, Lakshmi Devi, and then there is Madhavacharya, Ramanujacharya, and then there is this one which is headed by Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma got this knowledge from Supreme Lord Krishna, and then Lord Brahma gave it to Narad Muni, and then similarly by disciplic succession it is coming to us from Srila Prabhupada. So basically we are known as Brahma Madha Gaudiya Sampradaya when we are following Srila Prabhupada and we are following this Sampradaya. However, if you are even following any of the other Sampradayas, it's perfectly fine. But you need to see if you are reading some Bhagavad Gita, if it is authorized or not, because there are many translations of Bhagavad Gita which are not authorized. Like for example, if I write ABCD in some way, and then maybe I change it A, C, E, F, and then I tell a kid to study it, it might not be right. Another example that Prabhupada gives in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita is, let's say you want to post an envelope, you want to send a letter to some other place, okay, and you go outside and you see a red box, you put your letter inside, okay, do you think that letter will go to the destination? What do you say? But is it an authorized red box or not? That is the question. If it is not an authorized red box, let's say it's just a red box, somebody made it exactly like a post box, but it is not authorized, okay, and then you post your letter over there, it will never reach the destination for 1000 years. Similarly, if we read from unauthorized sources, we may read Bhagavad Gita for 1000 years, we might not be able to understand it or not get the gist of Bhagavad Gita. So all these 4 sampradayas are authorized sampradayas, and if we get the Bhagavad Gita, we should see if it belongs to these sampradayas or if the knowledge is coming from Sri Krishna. So that is the way. Srila Prabhupada's teacher, and then his teacher and his teacher, from Mahaprabhu, from his teacher, and then from Lord Krishna. That is how we should see Bhagavad Gita. So there is one verse. So now when did it all started? So when did it all started? Krishna says that in the Bhagavad Gita, when did he started it? Okay, it's not started on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So let's read this verse together. Okay, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivashvate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam Vishwan Manave Praha Manurikshave Bravit. So basically, Krishna himself is saying that the personality of Godhead. So this is the translation by like word to word translation, where Prabhupada is saying, translating this as the personality of Godhead. Lord Shri Krishna said, "I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the Sun God, and Sun God explained it to Vivashvan, and Vivashvan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku." So basically, it is a genuine historically authorized movement. It is not just some movement which we are following. It is a genuinely historical movement. And then when was the Bhagavad Gita spoken again, and what was the need of Bhagavad Gita spoken again? So basically, the Mahabharata confirms that Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna at the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra is a place in India in 3137 BC. And according to specific astrological references in the Vedic scriptures, the year 3102 BC, in the beginning of Kali Yuga, which began 35 years after the battle. So I researched it. 3102 BC means 52,000 years ago, beginning of Kali Yuga, which is when the beginning of Kali Yuga took place. And then Bhagavad Gita was spoken exactly 5235 years ago from this year. So it is 5,235. Usually we say 5,000, so I wanted to get the exact number before this date. So, and that date when Bhagavad Gita was spoken is actually falling on 3rd December this year, and that day is called Gita Jayanti. So it has a lot of importance. We will see what they are. So this is called the disciplic succession that we just discussed. Lord Krishna spoken the Bhagavad Gita to Vivashvan, who is the sun god, and then sun god gave it to Manu, and then Manu gave it to Ikshvaku, and then there was a disciplic succession that time, but it got lost by the course of time. So Lord Krishna came again, because whenever there is a decline of religion, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that he comes again to actually establish the religion again. So Lord Krishna has descended to re-establish the message, and then Lord Krishna chose Arjuna. Why did he choose Arjuna? Because he is a devotee of Krishna, and then he is a friend of Krishna. Okay, so these are the two qualities that we can see required to understand Bhagavad Gita. That one should be devotee of Krishna, and one should be either friend, or we can take Krishna as supreme father. We can say him as, okay, you are my father. We can also say he is our mother. There is a verse like that. We can say you are our master. So we can take him in any way, but we should at least take him as we should become as a devotee of Krishna. Prabhupada says in the introduction that we should at least consider that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and we are his devotees. We should at least consider, like when we were kids in 10th class, we would solve any problem. We would say, let us consider X be the solution of a problem, right? Similarly, if you want to understand Bhagavad Gita, so we should let us consider Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. If you don't have faith in that way, so we should let's just consider, and then we read Bhagavad Gita, and after reading Bhagavad Gita, we would say, okay, this work can't be of any ordinary person. Automatically, we will generate we will generate a respect for him, and automatically we will develop faith. So that is how we should approach Bhagavad Gita. In the introduction, Prabhupada says that there are 3 classes of transcendentalists. So there is something called Jnanis. They are impersonalists. There is something called Yogis. They are meditators. They meditate to understand what is the supreme goal, or what is the supreme personality of God. And there is something called Bhakta, devotee of the Lord. Jnanis consider Krishna as energy. Jnanis consider Krishna as energy. Recently at IYC, that is one of our club at Ohio State, I was talking to a person and I said, soul passes from one body to another. And that person says, I don't believe in soul. Then I just said, okay, energy goes from one form to another from different bodies. He said, yes, now I believe your point. So those are Jnanis. This is called Jnani point. It is not wrong because it is given in Bhagavad Gita as well. So these people are called Jnanis. However, and the second person is called Yogis. So Krishna says that yogis, it is a very troublesome path. Yogis go to the forest and they meditate for many years, and then meditate, and then they do a lot of penance. They take bath in cold water. You can see how cold it is outside. Can you imagine taking bath in cold water? Or they don't take food for many days. They just take food for like once in a month or two. Like Radhanath Maharaj was going over to different places, and when he reached Haridwar, he saw that there are transcendentalists, there are yogis, meditators who just goes inside the forest and they just come out after a month and they do some magical thing. So those are called yogis, they are meditators. And then their third class called bhakta, devotee of the Lord. So even the bhakta, devotee of the Lord, is not any sentimentalist thing. It is actually a way that Krishna described to achieve the supreme goal. That is to understand who is Krishna, like what is the purpose of life and all that. So basically, out of these three, Krishna says that this is his favorite. So approaching Krishna by becoming a devotee of the Lord is his favorite. Why is it so? What do you think? Why is it so? Like let's say we are a jnani, we know a lot of things. Okay, we are a jnani, and then there's a train approach, and then we are about to die. There's an incident. I think someone was telling me recently that where there was a devotee. So not all the devotees may be at that level, but what I wanted to add here is that devotees helped by Krishna, but these person might not be helped by Krishna. Why? Because one time there was a devotee and then he was crossing a railway track. He was in his car and the train is coming. So he saw that the train is coming, and then he started to pray Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And the train was very close by. And as soon as the train was about to hit his car, he remembered, oh, but what will happen to my wife? And then his car got stuck, and then he got into accident. But somehow he got saved by Krishna's mercy, and then he's still there to tell us this story that at the end moment of that I was actually remembering my wife, but Krishna saved him. Why? Because he was actually dependent on Krishna. These jnanis and yogis are actually dependent on what? Jnanis are dependent on their own knowledge, and yogis are dependent on their own sadhana, Shakti. But we are not dependent on our own sadhana. We know that our sadhana 16 rounds is just like a small speck of dust in comparison to what these yogis are doing. But that we are actually dependent on Krishna. So we are not dependent on our own power or our own strength, but we are dependent on Krishna. That's why Krishna takes special care of his devotees. Because if you consider this, that God is equal to everyone, right? If you are dependent on God, then He will also reciprocate. If you are not dependent on God, that He would not reciprocate. That is called the reciprocation. He should be equal to everyone. So the third class of transcendentalists are the best according to Krishna. Now, who wrote this? So basically, this Mahabharata was taking place around 5,000 years ago, and then there is a personality called Ved Vyas. And what does the Ved Vyas mean? The one who classified the Vedas. So there are different Vedas, different knowledge, and then for this particular yuga, it's very special. You know why? Because the Ved Vyas for this particular yuga was actually Vishnu Tattva. That means it is. So basically, there are different energies of Krishna. Like let's say there is a Jiva. We are all Jiva Tattva. Okay, and if a Jiva get particular power from Krishna to do some particular task, that is called Shakti Tattva. But he is a Jiva and he is doing particular thing. But for this particular yuga, the Ved Vyas was actually Vishnu Tattva. So it is a very interesting thing. So just think about this. Vedic scriptures are classified into, even before this 5,000 years, you might think, what was there? Like, was the knowledge even there before 5,000 years? Yes, it was there. Vedic scriptures before were actually called as Shruti and Smriti. So Shruti means which is heard, and Smriti means which is remembered. So there are many verses in this side in Shruti, and then in Smriti there are different things like Puranas, Itihas, and then in Itihas there is something called Mahabharata and Ramayana, and in Mahabharata there is something called Bhagavad Gita. So you could read all of this and then finally come to the conclusion, or you can just read Bhagavad Gita. So this is what the most important this is what the most important book, which is Bhagavad Gita. And then there is 18 Mahapuranas, Srimad Bhagavatam. So we should know that actually the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam all are from Smriti category, not from Shruti category. Okay, and then this is being given by Ved Vyas, and basically there was a condition. So Ved Vyas said, okay, he wanted to write Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, and then Lord Ganesha was actually writing it. So Lord Ganesha is also very exalted devotee. So we say there are many demigods in India. So, but actually there is just one supreme God. There's demigods means they have good godly qualities. if you have godly qualities, you can be called as demigod as well. If you have like very nice godly qualities, then you can be a demigod as well, right? But you can't be supreme god. Supreme god is just one. So we should not say any bad things to even demigods. That is the most important thing. We should not offend any devotees. These are all devotees. So sometimes we might think, okay, oh, we are praying to Krishna. The demigods, they are just like that. We should not do that because they are also devotees. We should consider, and that is one of the offense. We might say bad things to demigod, and then what will happen? Our bhakti might reduce a little bit. So we should be careful in that. So basically, if we understand Bhagavad Gita, that is just one manual and one solution to all the problems. So Bhagavad Gita is like one solution to all the problems. What are the problems? Before that, we would discuss who is Lord Krishna. So Prabhupada gives this analogy. Any medicine, like let's say you have some disease and you go to a doctor and then you say, I have this disease, doctor, can you give me a medicine? Then doctor give you some medicine. Okay, take this medicine after you eat food. Okay. And you go home and you say, I don't care about doctor's instruction. I will take this medicine before eating food. Do you think that medicine will give a proper effect? What do you say? No, right? It won't give a proper effect. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita is given by Krishna and thus need to be taken as is given by him. So, Krishna is the speaker of Bhagavad Gita in these concluding few slides, and then it is spoken by Krishna to Arjuna in the midst of battlefield in a place called Kurukshetra. It is compiled by Vedvyas and written by Lord Ganesha. And who is Lord Krishna? He is the supreme personality of Godhead. Krishna and his inner spirit is non-different. So this is Krishna's heart. This Bhagavad Gita is actually Krishna's heart. His inner spirit, his innermost desire. That is why he is speaking this Bhagavad Gita. And his inner spirit and these words and these paraphernalia are non-different from Krishna. So basically on the absolute platform, Krishna is absolute. That is, he is not different than his names, forms, qualities, pastimes, etc. And as Prabhupada says, this absolute position of Krishna is difficult to understand if someone is not a devotee in parampara disciplic succession. So it is very difficult to understand Bhagavad Gita if it is not in a proper parampara. So basically in the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita, this is the most, this is like the conclusion of the introduction where there is different manifestations of the Lord. Like Lord Shri Krishna, the supreme, could be the supreme personality of Godhead, or he is the supreme whole, the complete whole. And it can be called as Sat Chit Anand, which means eternal. Chit means happy, and then sorry, Sat means eternal, Chit means knowledgeable, and Anand means blissful. Vigraha. Vigraha means the form. So basically, Krishna is not formless. He has Vigraha, but it is not material form. Like we have a material body, so we have a material form. But Krishna has a spiritual form. So there are different types of realizations. One could be impersonal Brahman realization, or one could be Paramatma realization, and one could be Bhagwan realization. And then in the introduction, Prabhupada says that Bhagavad Gita is about basically 5 topics. First is the supreme controller. Who is the supreme controller? Who is Bhagwan? The second is Jiva, the controlled living entities. Third is cosmic manifestation, which is like nature. Fourth is eternal time. And fifth is karma. And then this cosmic manifestation consists of material world. Is like there are 24 different units, which is created and annihilated. And then there are like many, in this 24 elements, there are like air, water, space, and then other elements like other tattvas like Mahat, Ahamkar, mind, the 5. So there are like 24 like that. So this is what the Bhagavad Gita is about. It is about like kind of everything. So you just read this small book and it is kind of about everything. So Bhagavad Gita contains the complete knowledge of the Vedic wisdom. So we don't have to, so you just saw that Vedic tree. So we don't have to go through the whole Vedic tree. We can just go through Bhagavad Gita and then we can get the complete knowledge of the Vedic wisdom. So therefore Bhagavad Gita is very important. So since so few of you are new here, I wanted to say how the book is written. So there is the original verse in Sanskrit. There is the original verse in Sanskrit, and then there is a verse in English. So you can see like what it means. You can actually read it in English as well. And there is English transliteration, which is word for word Sanskrit to English. And then there is translation in English, which is based on parampara system, which is based on disciplic succession. And then finally there is a purport in English based on parampara system as well. So Prabhupada is explaining it in an easy way so that we can understand the translation and that particular verse. So that is the mercy of Prabhupada. So how Arjuna accepted Bhagavad Gita and how should we accept it? So this is a verse we can all say together. Okay, come on, let's say it together. Arjuna uvacha pur- Purusham Sattvam Divyam Adidevam Majam Vibhum Ahustvam Rajasyat Sarva Devarshi Naradastada Ashito Devalo Vyasa Swayam Chaivo Bravishime. So this is how we should actually approach Bhagavad Gita. Let's see what its translation is. It says, Arjuna said, you are the supreme personality of Godhead, first. The ultimate abode, second. The purest, the adopt, the absolute truth. You are eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. And then he is adding, the next verse says, all the great sages such as Narada, Ashita, Devala, and Vyas confirms this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me. So these are the different qualities that Krishna is. The Krishna is actually himself explaining. So, and then Arjuna is saying that it is not just me; it is different personalities. He is giving references. Like we can, when we write any paper, we say different scientists did this. We don't just say, okay, I am doing this and it is the best. So Arjuna is giving references about the various scientists here, which is spiritual scientists like Narada and all these great personalities. And then Krishna is also explaining it to himself. So if we are reading Bhagavad Gita, we should remember this verse and read this verse before reading Bhagavad Gita. And we should, if we don't have faith on this verse, that's perfectly fine. What we should do, we should say, let us consider that Krishna is Param Dhama, Param Brahma. If we approach Bhagavad Gita in that way, we would be able to understand Bhagavad Gita for sure. So, what are the problems in today's world now? We would try to see that Bhagavad Gita talks about that as well. There are problems like, they are called as adhyatmic problem or problem caused by our own self. Do you think we are causing problem to our own self? Like being angry. You know, there, if you get so much angry, like if you get extremely furious, what will happen? There is a nerve inside your brain that can blast, and then you can die at that moment. So basically, there are, like, this is just some symptoms of liver disease. So you say, I didn't do liver like problem to myself, but actually we did. We are eating something and then it is causing us some disease or some cancer problem or some. So these are all the problems that are causing by our own self to our own body. And then there is something called greed. We are so much greedy that we are fighting unnecessarily for something. There's anger, envy, lust, pride. So these are all the problems that are called adhyatmic problem, which is problem that are caused by my own self. There's something called Adi Bhautik problem. So Bhagavad Gita talks about that as well. Problem because of or two other living entities. For example, this is a picture. You can see which are these two countries. Can you guess? Huh? Yeah, this is like most famous at the moment, right? Two countries are fighting. Can you imagine why? One country is causing, one country is trying to say I am very more powerful. Other country is saying, so no, I am also powerful. One country is saying this land belongs to me. Other country is saying this land belongs to me. But do you think that land belongs to them? For example, the president of their country, they are thinking that this land belongs to me, but he would be gone from this body in few years. Then, then who would that land belong to? Actually, if we understand that this all this land and all these things belongs to Krishna, then there is no fight. So Prabhupada says if we take to Krishna consciousness, we can actually make peace all over the world. We can make peace all over the world perfectly. There is quarrel between the family members, unnecessary quarrels. There is coronavirus, so famous. Like last few years, we all faced it. So many near and dear people they died just because some other virus caused so much issues to other living beings. Not just that, we are causing issues to other animals. That is also Adi Bhautik. We are killing other animals, and there is a I have seen this analogy where someone say, "Oh, I love this puppy. I love this dog a lot. This is my favorite dog." And on the other side, they may eat cow. So we might ask, what is that kind of love? Like, you are loving dog. Why don't you eat dog? Oh no, you are not a nice person. You're thinking of eating dog. But if you're eating cow, why not dog? You can say like, so basically even person are creating so much issue to other living entity. That is, these types of problem are called Adi Bhautik problem. That is problem caused because of or to other living entities. So Bhagavad Gita talks about all this as well as the solution to these problems. We will see what the solution is. And then there's third called Adi Daivik problem, which are natural calamities or problem because of nature, like earthquake or volcano. Tsunamis come every 2 or 3 years. Tsunami come, landslides, floods, drought, wildfire. So these are the problems. And you know what is the best part? what is the best part about these problems? According to Yudhishthir Maharaj, what is the best part? That every one of us think that these problems will not happen with us. That is the best part. That is the best part about this material world. We think that nothing of this will happen to us. If someone is getting cancer, someone is getting into accident, we think, oh, I am safe. It won't happen to me. That is the illusion of this material world. And Yudhishthir Maharaj said that is like the most interesting thing in this material world. So, and why is this all problem happening? Because this is a material nature, and material nature is controlling the living entity. So how can we get rid of this? We can, this material nature is actually controlled by the supreme controller, because so we already consider, let us consider he is the param supreme controller. So all this material nature is controlled by supreme controller. So if we are serving him, then there is no problem. Okay. So Bhagavad Gita talks about making solution to all these problems. So we should read Bhagavad Gita every day. If you are facing with any of these problems, and then you want to get help, question mark, do you want to get help? Yes. Okay, then take to Bhagavad Gita. You want to help others? Question mark. You want to help others? If not, then you want to help yourself, then also take Bhagavad Gita. So if you want to help others, then also take to Bhagavad Gita. Or you want to solve the problems of nature, take to Bhagavad Gita. So it is very simple. Gita Jayanti is coming on 3rd December. We should take to Bhagavad Gita. So this is a slide that explains the problems of the today's world and the solutions of the today's solutions that are given in the Bhagavad Gita. So this is like Bhagavad Gita has solution to all problems. One solution to all the problems. As Prabhupada says, for the ultimate solution to all problems, we must awaken to Krishna consciousness. If we awaken Krishna consciousness, as I was explaining, there will be no fight between the countries, there will be complete peace, and there will not be any volcano or any tsunami as well. There is an example. In the West Bengal, in Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's time, there was complete drought. There was like complete drought, no water for many years. And then everyone was asking, what should we do? And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said, just do Harinam Sankirtan. So they did Harinam Sankirtan, and then it started raining. So basically, all these natural problems also can be solved if all of us can take to Krishna consciousness. If all of us can spread this Bhagavad Gita in some way or other. If we have it, then we should take it. And New Year is coming, we can gift it to others. That is also one way to spread it. And then that way we are not just helping ourselves, we are actually helping the other person also. So not just those problems that we just discussed, there are other problems also. This is called life cycles and ways to get out of it. So maybe we are over here, or maybe here or somewhere, and then we might soon die. I mean, few years after, where will we be? We will die. And then Prabhupada says that scientists think that this is the last birth, and then there's nothing after death. But not all the scientists think that. Maybe I am also about to become a scientist. I know that there is a life after death, right? So basically, if you live your life like this, you can go on, and then if you die in a mode of passion, then you can take to another body. So this is the life cycle. But it is not just this. But let's say here, if you die in mode of ignorance, then you go here. You see this here? There are millions of animals' life as well. So if we die in that mode of ignorance conscious, let's say if I am eating a lot of animals, definitely I would have that kind of thinking, right, at the time of death. So I could become a lion in the next birth. So this is another problem. Other than those problems, this is other problems that we are facing. And then yeah, so basically we don't have to waste time. Always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. That is the message of this Bhagavad Gita. So people say, oh, I am very busy, I am writing thesis, I am doing PhD, or maybe you are doing work, or you are doing some other thing. You can always remember Krishna. That is an easy way to do Bhakti Yoga. Because reading Bhagavad Gita eventually means getting some devotion for the Supreme Lord. And then I was recently listening to one of the lectures by Gaur Gopal Das. He's a very famous, very nice devotee from Mumbai, and he was saying that there are two most important days of anyone's life, which is one day is the one when we are born, and we all know when we were born. But the second one, very less people know, and that is, and another day is to realize why we were born. So these are the two most important days of our life. And then, so you can see an example over here. Like this is a bus, okay, and this bus is taking all these people to another destination, like first destination, and then there's next destination. So all these people are gonna go to the next destination, okay? And you see these two people, what are they doing? Fighting. Like two countries are fighting. They have to go to the next destination. They are fighting for the seat. This person is saying, oh no, this is my seat. This person is saying, oh no, this is my seat. Do you think that is a good proposal? Like just next stop you have to go, you can just go peacefully. And then just see this person is going so peacefully because he is listening Bhagavad Gita. So yeah, that is the thing. If you read Bhagavad Gita, if you remember Krishna, you can go from one stop, which is when you took birth, to the next stop when you are about to die, in a very peaceful way. So that is another benefit of reading Bhagavad Gita or becoming Krishna conscious. Okay. So when we understand that by reading Bhagavad Gita, we will understand that we are not this body that will solve almost all the problem. Okay, that will solve almost all the problem. But when we the next thing is, but not all the problem. If you understand that we are not this body, that will solve almost all the problem. But if the next question we solve, like who are we then? If we solve that, then solve rest of the problem. Okay. So if we understand that we are not this body, we are soul, that's it, then we will be able to solve some of the problems, but not all the problems. But if you understand we are not this body, we are soul, and we are part and parcel of Krishna, then we will, or we are part and parcel of the Supreme Personality that we just discussed, then we will be able to solve all the problems. Okay, for other people also, our family members also, and for us also. So how Bhagavad Gita has solution to all the problems, we'll see in one of the verses here. So we can all read. Brahma bhuta prasannatma na sochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate param. It means what its translation says, one who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. So you can become fully joyful when you realize that you are not this body. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. So this is just an example, just a prelim of one of the words. This is like concluding chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So, and once we realize we are not this body, we are spirit soul. We see other people also as the not the body, spirit soul. We consider them as our brothers and sisters because all of us are spirit soul and serving the supreme soul. Right? Just like this hand is not fighting this hand. They are just serving me, maybe my belly, because that is the center of my body. Similarly, if you and you, all of us understand that we are not this body, we are spirit soul, then all of us together will serve the supreme soul, supreme soul. So that is the way we can make harmony and peace all over the world if we understand this small thing. We'll just read a little bit so that, yeah, we can read it. I'll just read it so that you can just hear carefully. In the material concept of life, when one works for sense gratification, there is misery. But in the absolute world, when one is engaged in pure devotional service, there is no misery. The devotee in Krishna consciousness has nothing for which to lament or desire. Since God is full, a living entity who is engaged in God's service in Krishna consciousness becomes also full in himself. He is just like a river cleansed of all dirty water. Because the pure devotee has no thought other than Krishna, he is naturally always joyful. He does not lament for any material loss or aspire for gain because he is full in service of the Lord. He has no desire for material enjoyment because he knows that every living entity is a fragmental part and parcel of Supreme Lord and therefore eternally a servant. He does not see in the material world someone as higher and someone as lower. Higher and lower positions are ephemeral, and a devotee has nothing to do with ephemeral appearances or disappearances. For him, stone and gold are of equal value. This is the Brahma Bhuta stage. So basically, you would not be hankering for gold, stone, and gold. All will be of the equal value. And then automatically, since don't want something, automatically you will be happy. And then Krishna is saying, Prabhupada is saying, and this stage is attained very easily by a pure devotee. In that stage of existence, the idea of becoming one with the Supreme Brahman and annihilating one's individuality becomes hellish. And the idea of attaining the heavenly kingdoms become phantasmagoria. Phantasmagor. What is that? Okay. Which is like okay. And the senses are like serpents whose poison teeth are broken. So basically our senses, we have 5 senses and they are taking us here and there. Sometimes our senses say, oh, let's just go this place and eat something else. Sometimes our senses say, no, I want this. Why do you want that? No, I want this. And we actually hear our senses. So Prabhupada is saying then that the senses are like serpent and whose poison teeth are broken. As there is no fear of a serpent with broken teeth, there is no fear from the senses when they are automatically controlled. The world is miserable for the materially infected person, but for a devotee, the entire world is as good as Vaikuntha. So you can be in material world and then you will live like you are living in a spiritual world if you are Krishna conscious. That is the benefit of reading Bhagavad Gita or the spiritual sky. The highest personality in this material universe is no more significant than an ant for a devotee. Such a stage can be achieved by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, who preached pure devotional service in this age of Kali Yuga. So this is the one of the translation of this, one of the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. So is the history aware of the greatness of Bhagavad Gita? Yes. In from like Srimad Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, they came in and did Harinam Sankirtan from 1486 to 1534, and then Bhagavad Gita was special even during Mughal era. That was a different religion era though. So the people would take oath of Bhagavad Gita that whatever they will speak the truth. That was there, and that recently got discontinued. But it was there. That means Bhagavad Gita was important, special, right? And it was there in all the courts, which is like governmental run. It was not even like some other personal courts. It was governmental run, so it was important. And then you can see this Albert Einstein. Do you know Albert Einstein? He is the Albert Einstein is considered the father of the modern science. So Prabhupada would often say, if great people take to Krishna consciousness, you all are great people here, right? You all are in US. People see to you like, oh wow, this person is you. If you all take to Krishna consciousness, spread this message to others, people will follow you. And then this Albert Einstein, he says, when I read the Bhagavad Gita and reflect about how God created this universe, everything else seems so superfluous. I have made the Bhagavad Gita as the source of my inspiration and guide for the purpose of scientific investigation and formation of my theories. He is saying, and you know what is the most important thing? Energy can neither be created nor can be destroyed. That is the definition of soul that came from Bhagavad Gita. So he actually was reading Bhagavad Gita. How can he get this idea about energy without reading anywhere? So, and then Mahatma Gandhi, he is considered the father of the nation. And Prabhupada would write to them that you should take it more seriously so that people can follow you. So Mahatma Gandhi would say, when doubts haunt me, when disappointments store me in the face and stare me in the face, and I see not one ray of hope on the horizon, I turn to Bhagavad Gita and find a verse to comfort me, and I immediately begin to smile in the midst of overwhelming sorrow. So even if you are in the midst of overwhelming sorrow, you would smile, you will be happy if you read Bhagavad Gita. And then this is the most influential band of all time, George Harrison. So Prabhupada, he was following our Prabhupada. He was following this Bhagavad Gita. So that is the importance of Bhagavad Gita. Founder of Apple. These are all the great personalities, and that means history is aware of the greatness of Bhagavad Gita. And even now, people are going out and doing Harinam Sankirtan. So basically, this is all from Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So this is the last slide where if you have any problem, like it says, do you find yourself in any situation below? Get yourself a copy of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is and find ultimate solace in the words of Lord Shri Krishna. And these are the anger, fear, these are the different chapters of Bhagavad Gita, and it specifically talks about this. So you can get the Bhagavad Gita, and if you have, like, let's say I have greed, then I can read this chapter, this word, this text. So this is the easy way. So finally, I want to conclude by saying, get a copy of Bhagavad Gita on this Gita Jayanti, please. Okay? Gift a copy of Bhagavad Gita to your friends and family, and give to yourself or your loving ones, and solve all your problems and problems of other people. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So every one of you can have some questions. Prem Sindhu Prabhu and all these great people who distribute these books, they can answer your question. But please, this is a request. If you don't have Bhagavad Gita, you can set a good example for students, or you can set a good example for others. You can sponsor. Prabhu, could you just say like how much was the sponsorship you said on last week?
So one hardbound case is 16 books in one case. So we give it at $10. So we'll give it for $150 whole case. And softbound is 24. Each is 5, so it's $120 per case.
So please consider taking at least one case. and then you can distribute these Bhagavad Gitas whole year. When you give a gift to someone, it is good to just gift a Bhagavad Gita. Then you are doing benefit to yourself, you are doing benefit to him, and then you are doing benefit to nature also. Because if he Bhagavad Gita, then he would do Harinam Sankirtan. And Prabhupada says, even if you are chanting in this room and you are thinking, oh, what are these other people doing? They are also getting benefited. Because wherever there is Krishna's name, Krishna is present there, and it is all auspiciousness there. So even if you are not doing anything, then you give it to others, they are doing something, then also it is all benefit. So it is all positive. This Bhagavad Gita is all positive. So any other comments, Prabhu? Anything else? Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes. So in the first, when you open it, in the introduction itself, it starts with that. So it is best to always, because reading Bhagavad Gita doesn't merely means getting knowledge. Knowledge is also, Jnanis also get knowledge. Reading Bhagavad Gita means getting devotion for Krishna. And these prayers, if you read the English translation, it means we are praying to Krishna, that Krishna, we need some devotion for you. We don't have any devotion, even though we are taking your name, even though we are doing, but we are doing it without any devotion. Even the great people like Narottam Das Thakur, they are singing these songs that I don't have any devotion, please give me some devotion. So who are we? We might be some puffed up person and we might say, oh no, I have a lot of devotion, but we don't have any devotion. Devotion really means that our tears are flowing 24 into 7. When we say Krishna, tears are flowing. That is called real devotion. So if we don't have that, we should keep praying and we should always read these starting Mataji. That would be nice. Yeah, I can share. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for the very clear knowledge and presentation in class. I just have one question. So you said that the Vyasadeva of this age is Vishnu Tattva. This is the first time in my life that I'm hearing that. So what I had heard before is that he's Shaktiavesh Avatar, meaning that he's empowered by Vishnu. So could you please give a command that he's
Yes, Mata. I got it from ISKCON Desire Tree that this particular yuga, in this particular yuga, the Ved Vyas actually Vishnu Tattva, and all the other yugas he is actually Shakti Avesh Avatar. And for this particular yuga, it's very special yuga because Mahaprabhu also came in this particular yuga. So, yeah. Okay, man. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, it is actually Smriti. Yeah, because it was heard. It was heard by Sanjay, and then okay. Yeah. Okay. Maybe you can comment, Prabhu. Is it Shruti or which is remembered? Actually, it was given in this side, like Smriti of the whichever like text I was seeing, it was given in Smriti, Bhagavad Gita.
So yeah, it's debatable.
So there are no other questions, then we can end the class here. Okay. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki Hare Krishna. Guru Bhagavad Gita Jayanti ki Hari Bol. Now we'll stand up for Kirtan.